Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. And so today my video topic is the Python installation of Python. And so here basically I am preparing a playlist for the freshers, for the students who want to start their career into the data science, data engineering, or the machine learning engineer or software engineer. So here basically I covered Pythons for the data science, data engineering point of view, backend point of view. So in this first video, I show you the steps how we can install the Python onto the Windows instance and how we set up the virtual environments in the Python so that we can start our codings. And why I choose the Python because most of the inbuilt library in case of data science, data engineering is supported the Python. For example, the pandas, numpy, sklearn, PySpark. There is a number of libraries who can directly support the Python. So it is easy in the Python to develop a data science softwares end to end. So that's why I choose the Python. Let me beginning with the installations here. So in this PPT, I will discuss the steps to install the Python on the Windows instance. Let me proceed. So here are the steps to install the Pythons. So you can see here, first we need to go to the Python official websites and download the Python exe. As per the hardwares, we can download the exes as per our hardware. And then we need to run the Python exes to install the Python on the local instance. And these are the options, like it is recommended to select the checkbox like the install launcher for all users and add the Python path to the system variables. So please select these both checkboxes before installations and then select the install now on the next. We move to the next slide. So here after this step, we see the another checkbox like the whether to disable the path limit or not. So it is recommended to select this checkbox also. And by checking this box, like Python is allow us to bypass the maximum character limits, 260 character limits to the path. So by following these steps, you can install the Python on your local systems. And once the Python is installed, so now our task is to verify Python is running properly, Python is installed properly. So first steps, we can go to the Python install directory on the Windows instance and then click on the Python exe, and then output should be like this: Python is launched successfully in case of installation is correct. And also we can check the version of the Python. Then we just need to open the cmd terminal into the window and run Python version. You can see here in the screenshot also Python in small letter Python and then version, and it show you the current version of the Pythons. To check the pip version, you can run this command, and here in the screenshot I display like the pip version is display. And next step is to set up the virtual instance. So to set up the virtual instance through the command lines, there are the steps like open the cmd terminal again and then run pip install virtual instance command as shown in here in the screenshot also. So you can see here like we run the pip install virtual instance and it's basically install the virtual environment. And to create a virtual environment, we need to run create new virtual environment command. So here basically we need to run virtual environment and path for the virtual environment. So here you can see in the terminal we run virtual environment my Python. My virtual environment is the command to create a virtual environment, and my Python is the locations like the folder name. And now we need to activate the virtual environment. So we need to go to the directory where the virtual environment and then run the activate command. So here you can see we go to the my Python directory and then then run the activate command. And now as shown in this screenshot, like our environment is running, is ready. So further, like in case of any project development, so it recommended to set up a virtual environment and then work on the virtual environment, like install all dependencies, all softwares as per the project requirement into the virtual environment. And in case like the to deactivate the virtual requirement, so here is the command to deactivate virtual environment. We just need to deactivate in the same virtual environment directory, and then environment is deactivate. So till here you see we install the Python onto the window instance, then we check the Python version, then we set up the virtual environment. So now move to the keywords and identifiers. So keywords basically the reserved words in the Pythons. These are the inbuilt functions, uh, inbuilt methods into the Python, like the none or inbuilt data type none, if, true, post, string, str, int, while, these kind of words. You can see here this kind of word called the keywords. And we can't use the keywords as a class name, as a function name while defining any variable names or identifier. We can't use these reserved keywords. So, and keywords are case sensitives. For example, like the keywords name, like the in case of if is small letter, and if we define the keyword is upper letter, then there is the error. So keywords are case sensitives. And then move to the identifier. So there is the two items. One is the keywords. Those are the reserved words in the Pythons, and those are the inbuilt functions, inbuilt methods. And identifier means the variables defined by the users. Like the once we create a data item into the Python, either we create a new variables or we assign those value to the existing collections in case of list or dictionaries. So as mentioned here also, so basically we assign our object reference, like the we create a object into the memory, then assign the object reference to a variables. Those called the identifier. Like the name of the variable is the identifiers, like the object reference is identifier, and object save into the memory. And identifiers are also case sensitive. We can't use the identifier like the keywords as identifiers, as I told you earlier also. And there are the few rules while creating the identifiers, like the while creating the variable names, function names, class name. There's some rules, like the like start of the character of any identifiers start with any letters, like A to Z, any letters in small or in uppercase. We can start with this. But if we start with any identifier with digit, then it's showing us the errors. So we can't start any identifier with the digits. And identifier can be combination of the letters, as I told you, and digit, underscores. This is the combinations. For example, as shown in my screen, like the we define we create a object one with object reference A. A is the identifier. One is the object. A is the identifier. And we, as per the rules of identifier, we define like the A. A is a simple letter, so this is correct. Then we can use a combination of underscore and digits also. You can see there like the ABC start with the letters and with the digit in between underscore, so that's fine. So you can see here this is the identifier and this is the object. This is also fine. And this is also like the variable one, combination of letter and digit. This is also fine. But if you can see here in the last option, so you can see here our identifier is start with digit instead of string. It is start with the digit instead of letters. So this is invalid. In this case, it's showing us the syntax error. So here are the basic rules in the Pythons, how we can define the variable names, how we can define the class name, function name. Those are the identifiers, and these are the very basic rules. So let's move to the object and object reference. This is very important into the Python because Python is different as compared to the Java and C++ other languages. In Python, once we create a variable, basically we create we create an object reference with respect to any object. We create any variable into the memory. So let me explain with this PPT here. So in this PPT, you can see there is some squares and some circles. And in case of scarce, basically refer to the object reference created while creating any identifier, while creating any variables. And circle are the actual objects, those objects created into the memory. So let me take the first example. In the first example, we create a object is 5 stored into the memory as a object. And this is the identifier like the A. Those are the reference, those object. Like we create a object, and then we have the identifier as a object reference. Those refer to particular object into the memory. So you can see here, this is the 5. This is the object stored into our memory in Python. And this is the object reference. And we can create another identifiers and then assign to same objects by using the existing reference also. So in the second example, basically we are using the existing object reference A, and then creating another identifier B, another object reference, and assigning the previous object reference. And you can see here, like in second case, B also refer to same object into the memory. You can see here, into the memory we have the object 5, and A and B both refer to the same object. So this is the Python, how Python into the backend work, how Python in build work in the object and reference, how the object is created into the memory, how the object reference created once we create any identifiers into the Pythons. And once like the we remove the use of any objects, then object is moved to the garbage collections in Python. So let's move to the next example. So in the next example, we are creating here another object 5. Again, 5 is similar to the previous example. And this is the object reference created for the 5 again. So this is similar to previous example. We are creating the 5 into the memory. This is the object created into the memory. And this is the object reference for this 5, similar to previous example. Now we again assigning the object reference A to new object reference B. So again, B is referred to previously stored object into the memory is 5. So this is similar to the previous example. But now we update the object reference for A to new object. We create a new object XAI here into the memory. You can see here, we created new object into the memory, and then we assign this to the existing object reference A. Now A is referred to these new objects, and the reference for the existing object 5 is removed. Now A is referred to only this newly created. And like the in case of 5, we can we have the B is still in the memory, which is referred to existing object 5 into the memory. So this way, like the Python work into the backends, like how the object is created, how the object references refer to the objects into the memory. Let me show you these object and reference into the simple Python Python program by running through the CMD. So let me show you. So here we are using simple notepad from the window. You just open the notepad, and we are providing the same values similar to our PPTs. First, we are creating the first variable where we are creating object 5 into the memory, and then assigning the one object reference A. Then we are creating another object reference B and assigning to previous object reference A here. And then we are changing the object for the A variable. You can see here instant. And now we are up in the end, we are printing the both object reference values. So let me run this through our CMD. Okay, this is the CMD terminal, and we just need to run this because we save this notepad as a hello.py, and we just need to go to the directory where this file is located. This py file is located, and we can run this py file. And you can see here, like the value, like the object for B is 5, and object for A, value for A is xai. So this is the same things I explained during the PPTs also, like how Python works into the backend, how the object references change into the backend. And let me back to the our uh, PPT. So here are the references for few links like the Python official websites, step to set up the virtual instance, installation steps for the Python. You can refer to these websites in case of any issue also. So till now we see how we can install the Python on the Windows instance, how we set up the virtual environment, we see the object reference, we see the keywords, identifiers. So now moving onward, I will use the Google Collaborator. Google providing is the open source free collaborator similar to our Jupyter notebook, and we can run our code directly on the Google Lab collaborators. In case of any hardware limitations, like in case of we have limited capacity in our laptops, our machines, we can directly use the Google collaborators to run any Python code. So here are the one example. This is the Python basic notebook I have created on the Google Colabs, and this is the very first program in which just I printing a statement into the Python, and this is the like whole string I providing the hello everyone, welcome to Python tutorial for the data science, and we just need to run this. Next one is regarding the keywords. As I show you into the PPTs, like we have the some reserved keywords into the Pythons, and we can't use those keywords while defining any identifier, while creating any identifier. So here are the list. We just need to import those, and we can check the list of these. And these are the list, and these are the like the false, none, true, and as. So these are the keywords you can check. We can't use these keywords as identifiers. And let me print the length of this. Uh, So you can see here we have the 35 keywords. These are the reserved keywords in the Python. So thank you everyone for watching this video, and please like and subscribe my channels.